Hey guys, to help run the forums, host the website, and travel, we've introduced a universal service fee for in-depth coverage, including this video. My goal is to be unbiased and transparent. It's a privilege to serve you. This is not an endorsement. Let's get into it. Hey guys, we're perched precariously on a hillside here, Ranchos Palos Verdes, Southern California, hanging out with the Bulls crew, looking at some new ones. This one has the Shimano E8000 mid-drive motor and the twin-core battery, 2 packs. They fit into either side of that down tube for a very impressive capacity. It's roughly 750 watt hours. So many other companies that are doing the integrated batteries are kind of limited to like 500 watt hours. That's like the Bosch power tube design, and it's a nice pack. It weighs a little bit less. That pack weighs roughly 6.3, 6.4 pounds, whereas this one's like almost 9.5 pounds, but you don't have to run with both of the batteries in. It does come with both batteries, but if you want, you could take one out. Looks like this. It's kind of a dummy battery. Love that it's got a little LED charge level infographic on the end and a little handle thing, kind of carried around like that if you want. 4.7 pounds for one battery, and that metal plate. So they connect fairly securely. Aluminum alloy casing, and then this is what they call the Toolbox. It's a plastic shell. You can fit it in on either side. So you could take out the left or the right. It might change the balance, the weight distribution just slightly. The bike might be a little bit left or right heavy. But again, it's a nice option if you want to reduce the weight of this bike. This bike is 57.4 pounds, so it's fairly heavy. And you know, we are talking about the E-Core EVO AM Di2 27.5 plus, and that's in reference to the wheels here. So we also have the Bulls E-Core, and then this one is called the EVO EN Di2, and that stands for Enduro. 180 millimeters of travel, so a little bit longer travel. This could be like all mountain enduro downhill a little bit, whereas this one could be like cross-country trail all mountain, 150 millimeters travel. I feel like this is going to be the more popular setup, in part because of the travel, you know, and even the head tube angle. It's less steep, right? So the steering feels a little bit quicker versus that slow, a little bit sluggish, and you know, for more of a downhill orientation. And then just the price point, $84.99, so $8,500. And then $68.99. So still not super cheap on this, but you are getting top of the line stuff, including that E8000 motor and the really high capacity battery pack. Otherwise, the componentry is pretty great. We've got a Fox Float Rhythm 36 millimeter stanchions, anodized black coating, so you won't get as much stiction. They should be a little bit more durable if rocks and stuff fly up. I really like the Fox suspension because they've got this little dial here, so you can more precisely align the wheel with this through axle, and you've got quick release. So right now it's pointed up, but you could kind of increment that dial a little bit and bring the quick release back. Sometimes I've seen where like a quick release will be pointing forward or down, and you don't want that especially if you're going through brush and you get like a root or something that could kind of just snag onto that. That wouldn't be any fun. And then in the rear, we've got the Fox Float DPS. Both of these have compression and rebound adjustment. They're both air, so a little bit lighter weight, easier to sag these and just set them up for your body weight. Really appreciate that. A nice design too, and one of the things that I've noticed on a lot of the Bulls models recently is that they do have 18 millimeter kickstand provisions. So for someone like me, I can really only afford / have space for one electric bike, and I tend to love full suspension just because it's more comfortable. I've kind of got neck and back issues and knee issues, and that's why I appreciate e-bikes. I can go further and enjoy it a little bit more, maybe keep up with my friends or navigate really steep terrain like we've got here today without getting quite as fatigued or even injured. So I appreciate that. And you know, just coming back to the overall design of this bike, they do have 3 frame sizes, only this one color combination. It's kind of a gunmetal or metallic gray with gloss black and a little bit of blue highlights going on versus sort of a satin or matte black with white and orange. And again, this one, look at this, like extra volume, high capacity rear suspension to get that full 180 millimeters of travel. Same thing up front, and it has a RockShox up front versus Fox. So I don't know, I think it's kind of cool that they went with all Fox on this frame and that they were able to tie in some of the colors a little bit. You know, you can see this is more of a matte black with some blue stickers, so it's not exactly paint matched on either one of these, but the stickers look pretty good. Coming back to the wheels and just the interface here. we've got that 15mm through axle, and that gives you a lot of extra strength, and it supports the higher weight of a plus size tire. Now, plus size tires, especially in this case, this is 27.5 by 2.8. And so plus is like 2.6, 2.8, or 3. So this is kind of right in the middle. Good volume, maybe not quite as heavy, and a little bit more nimble than if it was 3 inches. And I actually don't see a ton of 3 inches. We've got Bulls rims. They say asymmetric design, and you can see that the spokes are actually interfacing with the rim a little bit to the right, and that's to offset the disc brake on the left. So the wheel is actually centered between the fork. I think that's kind of neat, and I haven't really called it out in the past. We've got a little tubeless ready sticker. I can't comment too much on that, but I can say the size 584 by 35C, so it's a little bit wider, double walled, and then being boost, so 110mm on that front hub spacing versus 110, it makes it a little bit wider to support plus size tires, and it gives the spokes a sturdier bracing angle, so they're arched out a little bit more like that, and that's going to be for strength. So definitely enjoying all this new like technology and these new standards and stuff. And it's the same thing in the rear. So this is 148mm hub spacing versus like 142 or 135, a little bit wider. You get the same spoke bracing angle, strength increase. And then we've actually got 13 gauge spokes here versus 14 in the front. So sturdier, a little bit thicker, definitely appreciating that. And then in both cases, quad piston calipers with 180mm rotors. So quad pistons, a little bit more surface area, a little bit more grab, strength, and maybe cooling because there's a bigger bit surface area. You know, Magura, they make pretty good brakes. I enjoy their design a little bit. I'm not a super expert on this stuff, but you'll notice how the piston goes up and directly in versus kind of that way, like horizontal to the handlebar. There is adjustable length on these, or adjustable reach, so you could bring them in a little bit if you've got gloves. I like the semi-ergonomic grips. They look fairly flat, but there is actually a little bit of an ergonomic sculpting, and they are locking. Now, if we compare that, we go over here to the Enduro. This one has Shimano, okay, and it actually has tool-free adjustable reach. Again, 2-finger, and kind of following these back down, Ice Tech rotors, also quad piston calipers, but 203mm rotors. So the extra size, like the extra diameter width, it's going to provide a mechanical advantage over these big heavy wheels, and especially in high speed applications, if you're descending a lot, it's going to slow you down. They're going to cool quicker and give you more of a mechanical advantage. I've already noticed like these don't stop quite as powerfully, but it's still good for, especially for like that cross country all mountain type of situation, and it's a good setup. I like that they've got the black stanchions here that are matching. You know, I'm used to seeing like the Kashima coating label and then sort of a champagne color on stanchions, but the black looks good here. I'm sure it's fairly well protected. I welcome your input on that though. I'm trying to be an expert in everything, or at least provide you with what I'm seeing and ask the folks at Bulls and stuff, but in this case, it's like, I don't know the difference between Kashima versus this black that we're looking at here, aside from appearance. I do like that this 7005 aluminum alloy frame is sculpted in such a way that they've got a little protector, almost like a little fender built in to protect the stanchion on that rear shock. That's nice. And I see so many people get the little plastic, and you can even see there's little threaded eyelets here for like a plastic mud guard right there, so that muck won't get flung up into your face. Appreciate that. And then we've got a Kind Shock LEV, and this one says Integra, but I guess it's actually coming with the SI. 30.9mm seat post right there, 125 or 150mm dropper, depending on the frame size. So we talked about there being 3 frame sizes. This is sort of the like medium small 45mm frame. Otherwise they have 49 and 54. And then we have a Selle Royale Rampage saddle. Not my favorite personally, because it actually kind of slopes to the sides, and I guess everyone's body is different, but you know, I'm also not wearing like biking shorts for this review. That might help a little bit. And I'd mentioned quick release up front. In the rear, it's just a 6mm hex key. So no quick release back there. If you have to do some trail maintenance, make sure that you've brought along like a little toolkit in your backpack or something. And then one of the really neat features about a lot of the Bulls bikes is that they're including this, it's called Monkey Link. So you can buy these accessories like this light right here, and then see that collar? It just clicks right in. So it's very easy to remove, like if you do a quick stop for lunch or something, or maybe you're on a day ride, you know you don't need the lights, you could take them off. Notice how this sticks up a little bit. It's designed to shine above that rear tire. but it kind of limits how low you can put the saddle. I think you can go almost all the way down here, and I have recorded minimum saddle height back in the specs. But just keep that in mind. That's something that especially I'm always mounting cameras and stuff, and I had to be a little bit careful. That's why I took that off. And then there's the headlight right here. Same thing. It actually points where you steer, which is very nice. Yeah, thank you so much. There it is. So same thing, magnetic interface. And I discovered recently that if you loosen that bolt, you can actually pivot the interface so you can adjust how the light shines. And that's really important when you're on like an enduro frame where the angle is so steep. So, hey, you're a pro, man. Thank you. Got it all set up again. So that's cool. These lights are not super cheap. Looks like that wire is still, there we go. Okay, we just had to get that clear. We were unhooking everything and testing the software earlier and experimenting with Ant Plus and Bluetooth Low Energy, which I'll get to in a minute. But these lights, I mean, they're $170 for the 2-pack. And it's nice, they can run off that really high capacity battery setup, but it's still a lot to pay. I mean, apparently they might have like a fender option in the future or something, so we'll have to see. It'll be really cool. And then the other thing to call out is this Monkey Link water bottle. So it's magnetic, and you just kind of twist it like that. Comes right off. 46 bucks for this bottle. Feels like a lot to me, but again, that nice interface right there. It's going to be really easy to get this on and off compared to like a side mounting cage where you might have to use more force. This is a standard water bottle mount interface though, so you could put a folding lock or a bottle like this. And Bulls has used ABIS with the key card, so you could get keys that match for the batteries. You could get like a folding lock from ABIS or something that matches. And because we are on like the smaller of the frames, it's a little bit tight with this bottle. So kind of line it up in the center like that. And then you just see how it's bumping there a little bit. Just kind of have to force it and twist down, and then there we go. It's locked on. So lots of cool stuff to point out there. Down here at the motor, I really think it's cool that they've got this alloy skid plate. It's going to provide a little bit more protection. The Shimano motor is like 6.35 pounds, and the new Broza Drive S Magnesium is about 6.39. So they're very comparable in terms of weight and size. It's got a standard Q factor, so it's not super wide. It's Shimano, so it kind of ties into the rest of the Shimano kit here. The brakes are Magura on this one, but they're Shimano on the other. So it's a nice motor, and it's measuring your rear wheel speed right there with a sensor. Barney, is this one that's going to have the sensor that's like built into the disc brake?
It'll be just like that.
It'll be just like this? Okay, I'm calling this out because I have seen some other ones recently where they actually put the sensor, like it's built in, it's tighter. It's not like this magnet that can get kicked around. Does this one have? Is this one?
No, this is standard.
Standard as well. Which is the one that we were looking at? Was that Broza?
The AM4, correct. The Extreme AM4.
Okay. So that was the Broza setup. I don't know if we'll see that from Shimano or not, but it's interesting, and I feel like some of the companies are moving towards tighter integration so people can't do like the speed dongle.
Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that. So on this one, it's a little bit more external, but the motor is measuring your pedal cadence and pedal torque. It's fairly responsive, up to 120 RPM support, 70 Newton meters of torque, 250 to 500 watts of power output. It's a class 1 motor, and Shimano's kind of a purist company. They don't have any class 3 stuff. So this is it. This is the E8000. It's a beautiful little motor. Does produce a little bit more noise when you're pedaling at high RPM, high speed, but the flip side is it starts very powerfully. So in the highest level of assist, if you're climbing and you stop on an incline and you need help right away, this motor really kicks in well. And then check this out. This is a little magnetic cover for the charging interface for those batteries. It is directly in the path of that left crank arm, but because it's magnetic, if you're plugged in, it'll just pop right off. It won't like break the plastic or anything. Just keep an eye on that plug, because there's no like leash, and you could set that down and easily lose it. Not the end of the world. This stuff is all rated IP54, so the motor, the batteries, display and stuff, it's pretty water and dust resistant, but worth calling out there. And then again, there's the key port, which to me, it would have been nice if it was on the right side of the bike, because imagine you lean your bike down to the left, the non-drive side. It'd be nice to do that to get the batteries off versus trying to hold this and unlock and everything. You don't want to drop these battery packs. They're one of the more expensive parts of the bike. And when you unlock that core, both of the batteries are free, and it just comes down to like pulling on that little loop thing to get it to come right off. And we might show that in a minute. 170 millimeter crank arms, just standard cage pedals down here. I think we've gone over most of this stuff. Electronic trigger shifters for Di2, the same Di2 display panel that you'd have if this was not an electric bike, but it doubles as the display for your the different levels of assist, which I'm going to get into in a second here. So this is the charger, 1.9 pounds, 4.5 amp output, a little bit faster, and that's great for such a high capacity battery. The wall side does unplug, which makes it a little bit more portable if you want to put that in your backpack. This is what the batteries look like off the bike, and we're going to do that in a second. And there's that $50 cover, so you could put tools or whatever you wanted inside that bay. Looks like he's going to grab the keys real quick, and we'll just jump into it. So go ahead and just unlock it if you don't mind, Barney. And we'll just, I think we're done with this now. We can use that again later.
All right, so you got unlocked.
Okay, pulling it out. Perfect. So inside here, I mean, it's aluminum alloy, and it's pretty, it looks pretty, it's not like there's tons of wires or anything running around. So it's a very like solid design. And when you think about structurally on this bike, there's like this plate that runs right down the middle for strength. And then again, if you had that plastic cover, you'd have quite a bit of space here to store some stuff. And then let me just hold the bike for a second and get a feel. It still feels fairly even. I mean, I haven't ridden this with only one battery pack, but it is a way to reduce the weight again by 4.7 pounds. So go ahead and just seat that down in. Oh, and I should say this while we're doing this. There's the little charge level readout, the little LEDs and stuff. That's pretty cool, because if you're storing this separately from the bike, you might want to know if it's full. You want to keep these in a cool, dry location. Extreme heat especially can be hard on them. When they're off of the bike, you do have to charge them independently, but when they're on the bike, it balances them automatically. So say one is much lower than the other for some reason, it would charge that one up, and then it would balance the two. And when you're riding the bike, it's supposed to discharge them evenly, so you're not just cycling one battery over and over and over. Correct. And that is the scenario. Like if you were riding with just one battery for a while, that one would be much lower than the other one. And when you put both back on, it would need to balance them. So there's the magnetic Rosenberger interface. Look at that. It's kind of like a squishy design there, so it's not like, yeah, this is cool, man. I'm like getting all the close up on this. Thanks for your help.
Yeah, no problem.
And there's that solid metal plate.
Yeah.
So you put it in, and you do have to have the key like in and in the open position even to mount it. So we just did that. Here's the key code card so you can get a matching lock. Thank you so much. And then the display beeped on. Unlike some of the other displays that are bigger and they've got like power buttons and many more like interface touch points, this one you actually have to press power on either one of the battery packs or insert the battery to boot it up. So there's a bit more reaching. Like if you hop on the bike and you forget, you got to reach all the way down here, press it, the display comes on, and you cannot be riding the bike or pushing on the pedals, otherwise you'll get an error. So it's trying to calibrate. You just basically got to hold the bike for a second, press power, wait a second, and then the screen will come on. This is compatible with the Bluetooth eTube app from Shimano or eTube Project, so you can do like firmware updates, you can do diagnostics, see if there's an issue with your bike, and then also dial in some of the drive mode settings. I'm going to take this off so you can see it a little bit easier. There we go, brand new bike. You can see a 5-bar battery infographic at the top left, so 20% increments, which is not quite as precise, but there is a range estimate later on, so we'll get to that. Speed in miles per hour, and then the assist level. So right now it's off. If we press the up or down buttons over here, it will cycle through. So we'll go from off to eco, it's the lowest level, trail, and of course boost, which is 300% output. So it's quite powerful, and again, very immediate. That's one of the things I've noticed and appreciated about this bike in particular, this drive system. And then there's this little circular button, see that right there? And it gives you quite a bit of options. Like that's how you change from speed to, you know, distance and some of these other things, odometer. But imagine you're riding. I mean, your hand's way over here. You'll have to like take your hand off and then go over there and then like try to find that. And if you had gloves on and if you're moving, like it's not ideal. And what I've noticed is I think it switches back to speed if you're not using it for a little bit. So it's just, you know, and the font's kind of small and stuff. They're definitely making a lot of trade-offs to keep this handlebar looking beautiful and to try to almost like overload this display that they had been using for Di2 shifting, and now it's handling a lot more. It's kind of lacking in that sense compared to a lot of the other displays that I've seen. Like it's a compromise there, and in terms of safety, just be careful. Let's keep going through these menus. So we get to range. This is what I was talking about. It says 37 miles in the highest level of assist. If I click down to trail, 55 miles. And eco, 74 miles. Back of the side, I think I estimated like 40 to 100 miles or something. Just, it really depends on everything from like how full your tires are. These are rated like 17 to 38 PSI. So there's quite a range in there. And the lower PSI, you're going to be getting a little bit more friction and drag. It depends on how heavy you are, if you're riding on like really steep terrain, all those things. But with such high battery capacity, there's really a lot of potential to go on this bike. Okay, then we got time. Average speed, max speed, cadence is really cool. So again, the motor's supposed to support up to 120. I find that it fades out a little bit depending on the gear you're in, around 120. And clock, and back to speed. Now, if you want, you notice that beep every time I'm clicking and everything, right? If that bothers you, like it bothers me, hold that little circle for a couple seconds. Now we got all these menus, so we can clear, clock, Bluetooth LE, which stands for low energy, Bluetooth LE, and ANT. So ANT is another wireless connectivity. Light, brightness, that's screen brightness here. Beep, okay, let's go in there. Turn it to off. There we go. But see how my hand keeps going back and forth, back and forth. It's a little bit annoying. And that's with Barney holding the bike. Thank you. Without Barney here, it'd be, you know, even more. Units, so miles to kilometers if we wanted. Language, adjust, and then there's this derailleur, rear derailleur, protection reset, exit. Oh, there we go. Okay, so we've gone all the way through, and I like how, you know, beautiful these are. These are all just electronic. There's no cabling aside from like an electronic wire that's sending a signal. And Barney told me yesterday that the rear derailleur, electronic shifting, is actually powered off of your e-bike batteries versus having a separate battery, which is really nice. So this is really the only battery you need to worry about. Is that the same for the display, Barney?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so it's nice that it's all wired in. I guess two things I would really like to see is, since we're shifting and we're dealing with the electric bike system all in the same system, well, add shift detection. Like maybe have the motor ease off a little bit when I'm shifting gears so it doesn't wreck the drivetrain as quickly. And then why not put that little circular button? Why not like duplicate that over here, right where it says Shimano, you know, because you could reach that. This is the dropper post lever, by the way. It just feels like that would be a nice place to have the button as well. And that way I could be riding and I could change this display on the fly and see how far I've gone and some of these other, you know, it's really nice to have that information, and it's just not very accessible on this setup. Otherwise, the shifters are really cool, and I think you can do some adjustments where you can change, like maybe the high shifter actually shifts the low gears, and you can change some of that stuff. It's pretty versatile, and overall, I feel like Shimano makes reliable stuff. They're trusted and they're well known in the industry. We've been talking about this bike for quite a while. Is there anything you feel like maybe I've missed, Barney?
No, I think you've got it mostly all covered. Yeah,
okay.
Thanks for coming out, bro.
Yeah, you guys. My goal is to try to be just objective and thorough, right? Like, these are all awesome bikes, and it's neat if you can actually go to a dealer. Like, Bulls has a lot of dealers in North America. They're a European brand, though, so they've been around for quite a while. Do you know when the company was founded?
1994.
1994. Okay, so they're kind of a dealer co-op, and they're trying to go for like good prices, but they've got a big range of electric bikes. Some of them running with Shimano, some with Brose, some with Bosch. So if you don't like that display or whatever, you could check out some of their Brose powered bikes or their Bosch powered bikes. But this is a pretty nice setup, and I think it's one of the only lines that has like that really high end enduro. Are there any other enduros like Bosch or?
No, 180 mil is going to be the E-Core is going to be the only one on that line.
That's it, right? So those are the little compromises that you guys will have to consider. We're going to get out there. We're going to do a little ride test now. Okay, guys, I got my full face on here because I want to do some like action riding shots with this bike. But before I do that, I'm just going to do a couple quick shots where I'm holding my camera so you can see around the bike and just get a feel for that. I'm also going to do some on-frame shots. So I'm going to take it all the way up to the highest level of assist. Barney, if you just hang out here, I'll be right back. These shots are just to give you guys a different view when I'm actually riding. There we go. And the display being color like that is pretty nice because, you know, you can tell without having to read what level of assist you're in just based on the color. Because again, it is a small display. When you're way up high like this, you might not be getting the full picture. Pretty quick, pretty responsive, and I'd love to show you my cadence here while we're riding. but I think I'm gonna connect the frame camera right now so that I'm not worried about one-handed riding and potentially crashing. Oh boy. It's a fairly steady ride with those 2.8-inch tires, and they do have like the Addicts speed grip, so it's kind of a new thing from Schwabe. Let's take it down to a lower level of assist. There's Eco, so even in Eco, it's kind of loud when you're pedaling at a higher RPM. Okay guys, from here you can see that 38 tooth narrow wide chain ring that's going to lock into the chain and reduce drops somewhat, but they've also got this plastic E13 guide which you can flip up like that if the chain does fall off. Really nice piece of hardware, lightweight, durable, and in the back we've got 11 to 46 tooth, pretty big spread, great for climbing with that really large sprocket. And then of course Shimano Dior XT with the Shadow Plus. I'm going to lock that in, and that's going to reduce chain bounce, but we do have that nice plastic Velo slap guard. And then the Shimano motor, you know, it's 250 to 500 watt output, up to 70 newton meters of torque. It's a pretty great system, very compact, lightweight, 175 millimeters on the Q factor there, so it's very traditional. It's not super wide. On a bike like this, it's not really a big issue because this is running boost, so 148 in the back, 110 up front. I'm going to pedal through in the highest level of assist here, which is boost, just so you can hear the motor and you can see it starting and stopping. I'm also going to pedal fairly quickly and try to hit that and actually probably exceed the 120 RPM pedal support. I'm doing this on concrete just so you can hear it maybe a little bit better than on the trail. So here we go. Working pretty well there. It definitely fades out the faster you pedal, but it does give you pretty good high-speed pedal support. Definitely appreciate that. And I am easing off a little bit when shifting. Interestingly, this does have electronic Di2 shifting, and that's a Shimano derailleur and derailment system. It also has the Shimano drive system, so it would be cool if they were tied together and it could do like shift detection and automatically back off the motor a little bit, but it doesn't do that. That's something I've seen on Bosch systems, and it just listens for changes in pressure, pedal pressure, in addition to derailleur pressure, and it automatically eases off. I feel like it's a missed opportunity for Shimano, but still, it's a little bit more of a purist system. It's very responsive, like lots of power right from the get-go, so it's a good bike for immediately hopping on and climbing up a hill, because it does really rely on that torque feedback. And you know, I guess as a rider, it's up to you to ease off manually on the pedals if you don't want to wreck the chain and the rear sprockets. Okay guys, from here you can see the display panel, the Shimano Di2 system, which is also interacting for shifting. I've pressed the little circular button on the bottom to get to cadence, and I just wanted to show you what that looks like as I'm pedaling. The motor does get up to, but starts to fade out around 120 RPM, so let's just do it. So I can still hear it whining, but it's really not giving me a whole lot of support above 120. No, especially in the higher gears, once we start to get close to that 20 miles per hour, it's when you really notice. See, like 116, I'm climbing, fighting the wind, and I'm really not getting that much more support. I'm trying to figure out, it's tough because you can't see your speed when you're in cadence mode. So I don't know if I was at or below 20. Probably around that like 18, 19. Yeah, just Shimano's fairly conservative, and they seem to sort of, they don't want to pass that 20. They don't even make a class 3 drive system, which would be up to 28 miles per hour, like Bosch and Broza do. And then the starting power is pretty impressive. Take it down to a lower gear. You can see it ramping up there quite a bit. Pretty easy to get that front wheel off the ground. Okay guys, we're at the start of the off-road section, and I just wanted to do some more filming so you can get a sense for, you know, how the tires are responding. I really like the 2.8. It's a little bit floatier than 2.6. A little bit more drag, a little bit more weight there, but yeah, for an electric bike, especially one that's weighing like, you know, 57 pounds about, it's nice to have that extra comfort and just area, surface area. Here we go. Pretty steep section back there. I was purposefully trying to, you know, get down to a lower speed, a lower gear, and just put the force on that motor, all the weight, all of the effort that it had to exert there. 70 Newton meters, really peaking that out. And I got through it, right? But I did have to work a little bit more. Also at that stop, because this has the 180 millimeter rotors versus the 203 on the Enduro, the EN. A little bit of a slower stop. Maybe the brakes aren't quite broken in yet, but you know, not bad. It gets the job done. Quad piston calipers, nice to have that extra surface area just for extra power when you're stopping like that. Okay guys, and one of the cool things about this display and some of the features outside of the menu system is that if you need to walk the bike, say you get a flat tire or you're on a really steep section where it's just too hard to get up and try to pedal, or maybe you need to walk because there are some hikers or something, you hold down on the lower lever here for a couple seconds, and it says walk, and then you hold it again, and there you go. I think it's about 6 kilometers per hour, 4 miles per hour. Bike walks itself. Really handy if your bike is 56, 57 pounds. And I was really surprised that, you know, the long travel EN was lighter, like a pound lighter than the AM. But maybe it's because this one has 2.6 inch tires versus 2.8. Maybe the suspension or just light. I mean, it's the same drivetrain, 11 speed, 11 to 46. So same batteries, lots of stuff the same. Also, that one has like 10 millimeter shorter handlebar right there. I think it's like, what was it, like 6?
This one was 760.
760 versus 770 or 780. Okay, yeah, so longer because you're going down the hill and it, you know, really needing to handle the extra forces and take those corners hard. Okay, yeah, let's just do this. I wanted to show what this looks like riding kind of next to and behind Barney. Kind of get an eye on that suspension. Top of the world. Beautiful, beautiful trail. Nice, dude. lot of butterflies this time of year. Overgrown trails. Oh, downshift, downshift. He didn't downshift enough, so he's standing, but I did. We got that low cadence power support going on. Love that. And with the electronic shifting, I mean, it's super smooth. You can even hold it and it'll just do multi-shift, which is kind of nice. Hey Barney, we trade off? Thanks, man. Okay, this time I'm gonna lead for a little bit. There is a steeper section coming up here. Here we go. So we're past 20 right now. It's pretty easy to do, especially descending. Hey guys. It's all good. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Yeah. Okay, it's nice descent. Remember, this one has the 180 millimeter rotors. Definitely using more hand strength. Oh. There we go. Try not to slide out. And we're getting into a steep climb up here. There it is. So downshift. I did the hold thing, so it did a multi-shift. Just gonna ascend really slowly. Oh yeah, there he goes. Look at that. My saddle isn't even as high as I'd like. I'm not getting full leg extension, and I do have a sensitive knee. So this is pretty impressive performance. Like, this is like primary use case right here, especially for the enduro. It takes you up like a chairlift, and then you just bomb down, have a blast. Rock on, dude. Woo! Well, you guys, I think that's about it. It's fun to see these bikes side by side. Thank you so much for being the Sherpa, like bringing all the battery packs and charger and everything like that. It's a fun ride. For the full written review, you guys, EVO AM, Di2 27.5, and then the EN. See you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. Have fun out there. You know, be respectful like we were, seeing people. Slow down a little bit. Ride safe, and call me out or add anything if I've missed it. You know, we've done our best here, but there's so much technology on these. You know, it's just amazing. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.